a one-tool player. If you look at it from that perspective, then you could make an argument and say, well, they may or may not have given up more than they needed to for a one-tool player. But again, it's going to depend on who Denver ends up taking with those first-rounders. We're not going to know for a couple of years anyways. So there's Mozgov.
You know what, too?
The other guy that is going to end up playing the most minutes is not J.R. Smith. Throughout the course of his career, he's been an instant offense type of guy, as a big two or a small three. He's probably going to end up playing the fewest minutes of the three, because I think now with Waiters gone, you have to start Shumpert at the two to try to shorten up that defense and get another guy alongside Kyrie. Him and Kyrie, I'm excited to see how they gel defensively at that end of the floor. I think the combination of those two can be pretty good. But J.R. Smith, like you said, that's a very intriguing one. I mean, no points last night and 0 for 4 shooting from three-point range. But once they get LeBron back and get a dominant penetrator in there, Smith's going to have some more room, hopefully opening up some more shots for the veteran.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not writing off what J.R. Smith can contribute to the team, man. I just hope that I hope, but it's so easy to say that because I remember having these conversations on the air with guys about a guy like Andrew Bynum. You go, well, you hope that a clean slate and the opportunity, and they're saying all the right things, and you hope that looking at what I said this last night. I was watching the game with my son, and I said Kyrie was just some of those playground moves. He was dropping some crossovers last night, and I've got to tell you guys, listen, I'm every day I grow more in this camp. I'm curious if you would agree with this statement or not. Now, I am only speaking on the offensive side of the game. Man, I think Kyrie Irving may be creeping into the top 5 as far as the best just pure offensive players in the game as far as his off the ball, the dribbling, his ability to handle the rock. I mean, I'm telling you, he's going to another level with the dribbling here this season in a good way, instead of just dribbling in the ground and running around for 24 seconds. But, man, he was crossing some guys over last night, even though the Cavs lost. And I said, man, if I'm J.R. Smith and I'm watching that, and I'm watching, because there were times that the Cavs played well for being shorthanded against a team as strong as Houston last night. I'm like, man, if I'm J.R. Smith, I'm going shoot. LeBron still hasn't come back yet. Shump's not here yet. Man, I'm just going to be quiet and play some ball, because this could be a pretty good basketball team, because, you can see where the fit will be better. Again, I don't think they win a championship with it, but you can see where the fit of this team is a lot better than it was a few days ago, just because you've added length, size, defensive players, all of those things there. It fits together a bit better now than it did a few days ago.
Well, and you also have to feel good about the fact that Kyrie is really taking ownership, not only of his own offensive game and the offensive game of other players, but as this being his team. I mean, if you remember back to July, LeBron did at one point make a statement that not too many people seem to believe that this is Kyrie's team. Well, obviously with LeBron out, it is Kyrie's team. But even with LeBron on the floor, I mean, we've seen a conscientious effort by Irving to improve his overall game, especially defensively. I mean, he's had really good performances against some of the more elite point guards in the game. I mean, he held Parker to 8. He held John Wall a couple nights later to 6 points. And here he is, albeit in a Cavaliers loss, he ends up scoring 38. And I don't really care how much you lose by. If you score 38, you've got something cooking. And Kyrie was able to do it with the outside jumper and the penetration as well. So very encouraging what you've seen from Kyrie now in his 4th year. And like David Blatt was saying earlier on in the season, that the experience that Kyrie got with the USA men's basketball team really transformed his mentality to try to take his game to another level. And it's really worked wonders. He has shown signs of fatigue in games where he's had to play upwards of 35 minutes, but that's believable for a point guard who handles the ball in every possession to have a little bit of fatigue there. But yeah, I mean, very, very encouraging to see all the things that Kyrie Irving is doing, especially in LeBron James's recent absence.
Yeah, Kyrie's got incredible conditioning, too. I'm curious, real quick, before I ask my next question, do you agree or disagree? Would you put him right? Maybe if he's not in that top 5, he's moving right in there. I'm talking simply as far as just offensive finishers and skill players, you know?
Yeah, if he's not in the top 5, he's awful darn close.
Right,
you would have you'd have to be right behind there in about 6 or 7. There's some awful good point guards in the NBA. You know, it's a position that's loaded in the modern day league. But you know, Kyrie, if he's not there, he's very close to a top 5 point guard in this league.
I mean, at least for sure. Like I said, I'll say it for sure on the offensive end. He's still got, you know, to continue to bring it every night on the defensive end. Here's the other thing about these trades that I think couldn't have come at a better time, and I don't think the timing is just coincidental. David Griffin could have waited a couple days, a week or two. These trades could have been made here. Nobody, you know, these weren't, I have to make them right this second. I think the other reason that he did is you've now bought some very valuable get off his back time for David Blatt, because you've now reset the clock on expectations as well, because everything, I'm not going to say everything starts anew, because even LeBron went as far last night as to say we can't look at it like the whole season starts over, because it doesn't. We've already played this many games, but it is a second start to the season, almost a different grouping, like I said, kind of the theoretical reset button. So you've now bought a couple of months of people being able to say, hey, David Blatt needs time to figure these guys out and put new rotations together. Everybody's got to gel together. So it was reaching zero dark 30, man, for David Blatt as far as the pressure. I didn't think it could build outside looking in much more than it had gotten. And I think now, very wisely, with these moves, when they come, David Griffin buys everybody time to back off, relax, and let's see what happens.
And I think that's exactly what happened, Jerry. If you remember a couple of days ago, I believe it was on Sunday afternoon, right before the Dallas game, that Griffin had a press conference right outside of the Cavaliers locker room, basically telling everyone, as you said, to back off of David Blatt's case. And then 2 days later and 3 players later, the Cavaliers roster looks a little bit more stable at this point. So, I'm not particularly surprised at the timing of these deals. They did have more time if they wanted to explore other options. But like we've talked about before, especially with a big, there are really not many teams in this league willing to help the Cavaliers out and give up a big. I mean, obviously it took 2 first-rounders to get a guy who's going to block shots and probably play about 20 to 25 minutes a night.
And they had to go west.
So a pretty big price tag there.
You know, they had to go west because nobody in the East is helping you out either. So you've got limited options in who's going to help you improve your team too, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there is a big, hefty price tag on centers in this league, especially in a league where teams are trying to spread the floor, you know, with the stretch fours and all of that. Shot blocking bigs are more and more difficult to come by, and it is still a very good thing that the Cavaliers were able to find one, and not only that, but one who has had experience playing under Blatt with the Russian League before, and Timofey Mozgov. So, he pulled the plug, Griffin did, to try to get Mozgov and lure him in here. 2 first-round picks, a little bit of a hefty price, but it will definitely be worth the risk.
And guess what? Even though it was just National League play, which is not as big, it's not a day in and day out type of thing, having somebody on the floor now that has any type of a regular before today inkling of what David Blatt likes to do on the floor and what his basic, philosophies and what everything's building towards here, that can't hurt as well. That familiarity with Mozgov and Blatt. Like I said, it's not, playing day in and day out, but it's still large groups of exposure to a guy, and that familiarity can only help things as well for the Cavaliers. I'm interested to see how it comes together. We'll probably see Mozgov first game when they start off with Golden State here on the West Coast trip. So it'll be interesting to see him as he comes in and how he assimilates to the team. And then, as we said, hopefully by the back end of that, the Cavs say perhaps by L.A. they can have LeBron back a week from tomorrow and add him to that. And even then still, it's going to be perhaps a week or two beyond that before you add Shumpert back from the shoulder injury. So we're looking, closing in on the beginning of February before you, knock on wood, nothing else happens, before you get your whole group of guys together that's going to be, these are the guys we're going in with the trenches into the rest of the season.
And the other thing, too, that I just thought of right now, Jerry, was another reason to urgently try to get Mozgov in here is I really cannot recall the last time that Tristan Thompson did not play 40 minutes, either at forward or at center. I know he's a young guy, a young, athletic, enthusiastic guy that can still tread for miles and miles, but Thompson at 40 minutes a night, I'm not sure that you really had envisioned that at any point in the season, no matter how many injuries you had. So with Mozgov coming in here and Love getting the bulk of the minutes at the 4, you're going to rest Thompson a little bit, and hopefully his defensive prowess will increase as well.
Yeah, spacing on the floor. There's a lot of things I'm interested in seeing over the next few weeks. This isn't let's see what happens on Friday, talk about it on Saturday kind of thing. Over the next couple of weeks, interested in seeing if they grow together, or it could go the opposite way too, because that's the risk you take when you shake up that much of a roster. But even me and Lord knows LeBron James at times can rub this fellow the wrong way, and I have no problem talking about it, no matter who you're talking about. When you look at that list that I gave at the beginning of this conversation, that in and out list and that complete overhaul of the roster, no matter what level of talent you're talking about, that definitely takes some time. And it's more exasperated now because you've just moved a half a dozen players back and forth in different directions in the last 3 days. So it really puts the exclamation point on the overhaul and how much it's still got to regroup back together. But it's kind of a reset button, and it will be interesting for us, my man, to see how this plays out and to see the style of ball this team begins to settle into as things come back together for the rest of January and then heading on into the second half of the season.
Well, and Jerry, I think if anybody else needs a reset button, it's probably LeBron too, because I think that I'm not going to go there and make the excuse for him that the minutes have added up. But the one thing that I did see in LeBron's game before he decided to sit for a couple of weeks, nowhere near as aggressive, nowhere near, not even as close to aggressive as the LeBron we've seen in the past in terms of penetrating the lane and going to the rim. I mean, there were plays where he was settling for runners when we would be used to him dunking the ball. A lot more standstill threes from the top of the circle. I mean, he can still hit those because he's got, that type of shooting from outside the arc. But again, LeBron, a little bit of apathy in terms of trying to get easy shots into the paint and create those lanes that we are so accustomed to seeing him go in the aggressive mood. But hopefully when they get him back, hopefully he'll be 100%. I'm not too sure that he's got the youth that he has had in the past in stint 1 with the Cavaliers, but it will be hopefully a little bit more assertive and aggressive than the first 20 or 25 games that we saw with the Cavaliers in stint number 2.
Yeah, and I said this when he went out too. I said, you know what? I said, being totally fair as a human being to the guy, perhaps this is a good break, not just physically, but mentally as well, because I've talked about some of the things that he said, and you would hope that perhaps stepping away, catching a deep breath and saying, okay, man, this is a process. I know that I need to stop, because you could see in his answers the pressure building in LeBron as well. And like I said, I'm nobody to pick up the slack for him, as people know. But I was hopeful And I don't know that this is the truth. I don't know. But I was hopeful that the time away before the Cavs made any trades would perhaps allow everything to calm down there. And for him to come back with a fresh, all right, we're going to reattack this. It's a new year. Let's go out here and so on. Well, now there's even more reason, hopefully, for him to, if he was, and I'm not saying he was ready to walk away, but if he was sour